In our solar system, there are rings around every massive gas giant planet. And for a very long time we used to think that rings could only form around the gas giants, albeit not all of them as nice looking as the ring of Saturn. But that all changed in 2014 when a ring was discovered around a very small object called a Centaur. In the solar system, between the orbits of Jupiter and Neptune, there's a bunch of objects called Centaurs. They're kind of like failed planets, and we expect there's about 44,000 of them, larger than a kilometre. In 2014, astronomers watched as one of the Centaurs, called Chariklo, passed in front of a faraway star, doing something we call an occultation. And what they found was that the faraway star's brightness dipped 3 times. Now, if it was a normal one-object occultation, you would only expect the brightness to dip once. But because there were 3 dips, the only possible explanation was that this Centaur had a ring around it. So it was discovered that even these small, tiny, failed planets could have rings around them. So rings didn't belong only to the big gas giants. And later, another Centaur was found to have a ring as well. But this raised a new problem. How could these very small objects have rings of their own? The way we think rings form only really works for very big planets. Well, thanks to a group led from Kobe University, we may have an answer to how the Centaurs got their rings. This group developed a model which simulates the gravitational interactions between gas giants and these little Centaurs. What they found is if these Centaurs weren't solid objects like the Earth or the terrestrial planets, but instead were made out of ice and dust kind of chunked together, more like comets, then if a Centaur passed close to a gas giant planet, the gravitational pull of the gas giant would strip away some material from the Centaur and it would start to orbit around it. And this ring of stripped material that came off the Centaur could orbit around it for millions to billions of years. Now, this model also predicts that about 10% of Centaurs would have come close enough to a gas giant to have a ring form around it. So as we study Centaurs more in the future, we'll be able to test if this hypothesis is true. But it's a very cool result from a model because not only does it give us an explanation of why the Centaurs might have rings, it also gives us a hint as to what these Centaurs might be made out of, which is very useful for understanding how the solar system formed the way it is. So there you have it. Rings can form around little tiny objects in the solar system. So they're no longer objects reserved just for the most massive planets.